Coming up on WUFT News is First at 5, another act of vandalism for a local Jewish fraternity. We'll hear why they say they won't back down from these hate-filled acts.
Plus, possible heavy showers will be affecting your evening commute. I'll be tracking those storms for you.
And the search for the suspect impersonating a Marion County deputy, why officials say he's a danger to the public. First at 5 starts right now.
First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
The WUFT radar is showing at times heavy and steady rainfall across north central Florida. It's the third straight day of wet weather across much of the state. The roads were slick this morning when a school bus and SUV collided. More than 24 students were on board when the SUV rear-ended the bus just after 9. We'll have more on this story in just a few moments. And a flood watch remains in place until tonight for South Florida after heavy rains left streets flooded and canceled dozens of flights. Much of the state's been hit by tropical storm-like conditions this week. This is First at 5. I'm Natasha Holt.
And I'm Jacob Sedesse. UF forecaster Daniella Rudolph joins us now. She's tracking the storm and she's here to tell us when the rain will finally move out of our area. Daniella?
Thanks, guys. Well, we do have some possible heavy showers this evening. I'm going to be tracking that for you. I'll tell you when the rain is going to be leaving us in just a little bit. Let's take a look at those storms that I'm currently tracking as of right now. We can see just the sheer size of the storm right now. It's engulfing all of north central Florida, basically. You can see here in Gainesville, now we do have a potential for a little bit of a heavier downpour here in Chiefland, and then parts of the Villages, Leesburg. You guys really want to be on your weather alert this evening for some heavy showers and possibly some localized flooding. I know that it looks like there's not a lot of rain, but it has been very steady, and that can help us to see those areas of localized flooding. It doesn't have to necessarily just be quick and heavy rain. That can lead to some floods. If you're staying with me here in Gainesville for the remainder of your evening, we are going to have a cloudy night with those chances of rain. It's going to be staying with us until around that 1 a.m. hour, where it is going to be drying out, and those temperatures are only going to be getting down to 63 degrees. It's going to be a wet and cool evening.
Thank you, Daniella. A Marion County driver was badly hurt after fire officials say she crashed into the back of a school bus this morning. It happened around 9 this morning at the intersection of Southeast 150th Street and 36th Avenue. Fire officials say the driver of the SUV rear-ended the bus that had 27 students on board. None of the students were hurt, but the driver had to be cut out of the vehicle and was taken to a local trauma hospital.
Since the Hamas-Israel conflict began, tensions have been high within the Jewish and Palestinian communities.
And those tensions have bled onto college campuses across the country, including right here at the University of Florida. Tonight, those two groups are holding a rally to share the impacts felt across the UF community. We have team coverage of the stand both groups are taking. We begin with WUFT's Rafael de los Santos, who's live on University Avenue, where members of Students for Justice in Palestine are set to protest once again. Rafael.
A chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine are continuing their push by protesting today on the corner of 13th Street and University Avenue. They want it to be known that Palestinians are facing injustices as well as members of the Jewish community after the deadly fighting broke out between Hamas and Israel last month. Now, this is not the first time that these protests have taken place here. Another protest also took place in late October. With Israel and Palestinian flags in hand, local residents and UF students alike have taken to this corner since the conflict began. Support for Israel has poured out in droves, leaving the campus Palestinian community on the outskirts of university support. The organization's demonstrations follow Governor Ron DeSantis' order to colleges to shut down Students for Justice in Palestine's UF and South Florida chapters. University officials say they refuse to halt the work of the organization for legal reasons, and at the moment there is only a light crowd because of the heavy rain conditions. This event was supposed to start at 5 p.m. According to one of the organizers, at 5:30, this event should pick up and there should be more protesters here. Reporting live from the University of Florida, Rafael dos Santos, WUFT News.
Thanks, Rafael. And meanwhile, the Alpha Epsilon Pi fraternity sign showing solidarity with Israel has been vandalized yet again. WUFT's Francis Kapper is here to tell us how the members are uniting in the aftermath. Francis.
That's right, Jacob. The fraternity displays a banner in front of the house that reads, AE Pi stands with Israel. The banner has been defaced multiple times. Yet again, the Alpha Epsilon Pi's Stand with Israel sign has been vandalized.
We're very upset by it. We're very angry by it.
Fraternity Vice President Jason Fromowitz tells me this is the 4th time that the fraternity has been vandalized for showing their support of Israel. We learned earlier this week that a UF teacher's assistant has been banned from the campus for 3 years for allegedly vandalizing the banner in October. UFPD said 24-year-old Simon Nicholas Lowry admitted to ruining the banner. Their banner has been slashed 2 times, has been spray painted, and has been defaced with marker as well. When the flag was spray painted, it covered the word Israel and replaced it with Palestine, so the banner said AEPI stands with Palestine. Fromowitz said that the primarily Jewish fraternity stands with Israel because it is the right thing to do.
We're obviously a mainly Jewish fraternity, but we all have a lot of relatives in Israel, a lot of family, a lot of friends, and it's just the right thing to do right now.
Fromowitz said that the repeated vandalism will not deter their support.
But to be honest, we're not scared by it at all. We are ready for this. It brings us closer together, and everything that they do to us, we're going to keep taking it. We're going to keep staying together and keep supporting Israel and what we stand for, and we won't be deterred by these cowards or anything like that.
Previously, UFPD was able to find a suspect for the first time the banner was slashed. However, AEPI members have informed me that they have not yet found a suspect this time. Live in the studio, Francis Kapper, WUFT News.
Thanks, Francis. And members of UF Students for Justice in Palestine group are planning a protest at the office of Congresswoman Kat Cammack tomorrow. They say they're aiming to shut down her office and demand a ceasefire on the International Day of Student Struggle. Cammack has voted to send $14.3 billion in aid to Israel and has been vocal against a ceasefire. A spokesperson from her office said they are aware of the protest but did not provide any further comment. We'll continue to cover this latest updates between Hamas and Israel and its latest impacts on our website. We have photo galleries, previous reporting on protests, and information on this week's March for Israel in Washington, D.C. You can find all that on WUFT.org.
We're following breaking news out of Marion County, where deputies say they have the 2 suspects responsible for the death of a teenager. A grand jury indicted Dexavion Brown and Leilani Brown for the first-degree murder in the death of 17-year-old Lazarius Graham. Back in June, detectives say Graham met up with Leilani for a drug deal. When he got in the car, investigators say Dexavion shot him twice. Deputies say both Leilani and Dexavion have been in jail since August and September on unrelated charges. Officers attempted to save a man from drowning after he ran from a traffic stop early this morning. A Gainesville police officer tried to pull over a driver driving a stolen scooter near Northeast 25th and 6th Street. The driver lost control of the scooter and headed toward a wooded area. Officers later found him in the pond where he began to drown. Officers pulled him to land and emergency crews took the driver to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Well, National Transportation Safety Board officials are continuing to investigate the cause of the deadly single-engine plane crash in Paynes Prairie. The pilot and only occupant were killed in the crash after trying to navigate in poor weather. 21-year-old Adrian James Valentine had purchased the small propeller plane 2 weeks earlier. Valentine told an air traffic controller that he was lost in poor visibility. After taking off in Kissimmee, the plane's radar showed it climbed to 6,800 feet and crashed while moving at about 300 miles an hour. Crews moved the plane off-site for further evaluation, and they're set to have a preliminary report in just a few weeks.
Deputies in Marion County need your help tracking down a man they say is impersonating one of their own. These are surveillance pictures of the suspect. Deputies say he is falsely identifying himself to neighbors as a Detective Nichols, and he was last seen near Northeast 34th Court wearing a sheriff's office shirt. Investigators say he approached a woman and asked if she had seen a missing little girl. The woman became suspicious and called the sheriff's office. Deputies believe that he may drive a white SUV and may have ties to Citrus County. Florida's seen an uptick in visitors in the recent months. We'll tell you what those numbers look like for our area.
And UF officials will allocate nearly $1 million for pest control. We'll tell you why Florida is at higher risk for pest problems than other states. That's when First at 5 returns.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. Well, the state of Florida experienced actually a record number of visitors in recent months. WUFT's Jake Lynch looked over the numbers and talked with airport officials to learn more about the situation. Jake?
Governor Ron DeSantis put out a press release today saying that the amount of people visiting Florida is continuing to rise. There was an estimated 35.1 million visitors July through September, a record high for the state. The city of Gainesville continues to see a rise in traffic, specifically through the city's airport, says the airport's communication officer, Erin Porter. She says visitors in and out of the Gainesville Regional Airport have doubled since the year 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic brought down traffic by 95% that year. This year has already brought in 1,000 more people than this time last year. DeSantis credits the uptick to the state's lack of unnecessary government restrictions. Live from the newsroom, Jake Lynch, WUFT News.
Thanks, Jake. UF officials are paying a pretty penny to prevent pests. Nearly $1 million are specifically going to create a network for developing new techniques that manage bugs and pests. The hub is through UF IFAS. The scientists there aim to tackle the urgent pest problems and health effects associated. Florida is at higher risk than other states because of the tropical climate. The state is home to over 20 termite species and 80 mosquito species.
This hub is trying to constantly keep up with that demand of that changing need, both in the kinds of pests, the growing number of pests that we have, and the resistance that the existing pests already have.
Officials with the hub will develop tools for professionals to use against current and emerging pest problems.
Marion County is holding its annual holiday food drive to help ease the burden on those in need. The county is requesting non-perishable foods, baby items, and personal hygiene items to be dropped off at any of the district offices, main office, or in the downtown square in Ocala on December 1st from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can learn more about all of the drop-off locations at marionfl.org/BHH.
We have a powerful cold front that's going to be sweeping across our country. It's going to be bringing some powerful and cold conditions that are going to be affecting us for our football and Thanksgiving plans. I'll have that for you on the other side of the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
From the heavy downpours that we've been seeing over the course of the past week, thanks to that Texas system, is leading us to a flood alert. So areas Daytona Beach, Orlando, all the way down to the beginning of Jupiter, you folks are going to have your flood watch through to Sunday. So this is a really important time that you stay weather aware. Of course, I'm tracking these storms for you that have been associated with that system that we saw. But I also want us to take a look at this over here. We can see these winds spinning in a counterclockwise way. That indicates that it is a low pressure system. Now, it is off the coast. It is going to bring some showers in, but it is not a tropical system. It does have some tropical characteristics, but as it makes its way up over the next few days, we can see here the rain is going to be moving out early tomorrow morning and then into the afternoon. And the reason that it's not going to turn tropical is because we're getting to the end of hurricane season. You can see we're moving into those unfavorable conditions. So it's just going to be dissipating, only bringing some rain, mainly to the south. Now, speaking of rain, we can see it all over our campus cam. Those temperatures are at 68 degrees. And if you headed out today, you would have noticed that it is really, really hot still, despite the fact that we have rain. I'll be talking the muggy meter in just 1 second. We've been relatively cool though across the state. Those temperatures only peaking just under the 80s across the entire state. Now there is that muggy meter. It is going to be warm and it's going to be getting a little bit cooler later on in the week. If you're staying with me here in Gainesville, the hour by hour for the rest of our evening, we can see those rain chances are decreasing around that 1 a.m. hour and temperatures are staying steady in the mid 60s. Now for your Friday morning, we're going to be waking up to a little bit of cool temperatures, 64 here in Gainesville and 63 in Stark. If you're staying with me here in Gainesville tomorrow, for your campus planner, if you're headed out, we are going to be seeing the rain making its way out. So it is going to be a nice day, partly cloudy, temperatures getting up to 77 degrees. Now, we have this big cold front going to be sweeping through the nation. It's going to be dropping those temperatures for football. I'll have that in just a second. It's also going to be impacting some of those Thanksgiving Day plans. And there it is. Let's talk football. You're headed up to Missouri. The Gators are going to be taking them on in the stadium there in Missouri. It is going to be really cold. You guys, look at this 56 for your tailgate, getting down to 46. It is going to be waking up to freezing conditions the very next morning, so you definitely want to take a jacket because we do see that cold front, as well as the fact that it's going to be a clear evening. It's really going to help to let that radiation out and let those temperatures drop. Now there is our 7-day outlook. We see those temperatures peaking on Tuesday at 81, but look at that big drop from 81 down to 65 for Thanksgiving. Unlucky for Mr. Turkey, it's still going to be hot in the oven.
There's a new face coming to Gators men's basketball. That's right, transfer student Zion Pullen is set to take the court on Friday. I'll have insight on that and more in sports after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Reighan Sheppard. It's that time of the year where football is no longer the only star of the show. Basketball season is finally here and underway. Gators men's basketball is coming off a strong showing on Tuesday as they went on to defeat Florida A&M Rattlers 89-68. Guard Will Richard led the team in scoring with a total of 20 points on the court and 6 assists. Walter Clayton Jr. also put up a strong fight, knocking down a solid 18 points for the Gators. As they prepare for longtime rival Florida State on Friday, transfer student Zion Pullen will make his first appearance on the court as a Gator. Pullen says he's ready to add value and help uplift this team as a whole.
I think just a playmaking guard who, can get others involved. That's what I like to do, make other players better. And I think that's something, I like to think I do a little well at. And so that's ultimately what I'm, trying to bring to the team, just make everyone around me better, make their jobs easier.
The Gators men's basketball team takes the court against the Seminoles at 7 p.m. on Friday in the O'Connell Center. Now, moving on to the women. While the Lady Gators took on the Rattlers as well, their showing was arguably better than the men. The team demolished Florida A&M, almost doubling their score with a 92-54 finish. Quick and swift, Aaliyah Matharu led the team with a strong 22 points and 7 rebounds. As the Gators set up to face the Seminoles on Friday, they will be looking to make another strong performance on the ball, on both sides of the ball. Florida State's women's basketball team has been off to a solid and consistent start to the season. It has been almost a week since they defeated the Tennessee Volunteers, but the team is coming off great momentum heading into tomorrow's matchup. The Seminoles have been shooting for 79% from the free throw line for the last 2 games, so Gator defense will be looking to keep it clean on the court. However, Florida State has proved to show weakness in rebounding, being out-rebounded by 30 in the last 2 games. So, if they want to make it out of the swamp alive, they will have to box out. Tip-off is 4 p.m. tomorrow in the O-Dome. Now, moving on to the court and onto the field. Gator football has not had the prettiest season. The team is now on a 3-game losing streak, putting them in a tough spot for bowl contention. They will need to win at least one of the 2 remaining games if they're looking to be in a part of the postseason. However, there is some shine to this rainstorm. Receiver Wiki Pearsall has the potential to become the first Gator wide receiver since 2002 to reach 1,000 yards in the season. As he currently sits at 876 yards, Pearsall says he is eager to get the job done.
I'm very excited to be able to go and do that. It's a goal I set in the very beginning of the season, so I'm still working towards it. Still got to go get it.
The Gators and the Mizzou Tigers will face off on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in Columbia, Missouri. Friday Night Lights is not quite over yet. In fact, it's just getting to the good part. The regional semifinals of the FHSAA football championships takes place at 7:30 p.m. across the state on Friday. North Central Florida schools have a good showing this year, appearing in 6 games, one of which highlights 2 star quarterbacks. Newberry's Keel McGriff and Hawthorne's CJ Ingram will be battling it out as they are 2 of the district's top quarterbacks, both being underclassmen. Airing tomorrow on WUFT's First at 5, reporters sat down with both gentlemen to see where their heads are heading into tomorrow's matchup. And one final note, Atlanta was just named the host for the 2025 All-Star Game.
Thanks, Reagan. Now, I know it's kind of getting cooler and it's finally maybe time for some of that physical activity for someone like me who doesn't like working out.
Exactly. If you're a fan of the cold, just like me, you're in for a treat. Look at that big drop down to 65 for our Thanksgiving.
Well, that'll do it for us tonight, Danny. Have a good night.